Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you listen to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. And I need credit to resist the urge to go full goofy, lighter hue dude. What's it going to be? It just go all crazy for the new intro. Anyways, but yeah, free agency, wasting no time. Travis, understand, we gave the people here a special Saturday morning episode. We gave the people an instant reaction on Monday, and things still kept happening all over the place in and around Duval. We're going to be touching to some national stories, even that lightly touched the world of the AFC South and Duval. But first, the news we haven't had a chance to react to yet. That was one of the things we thought was going to happen, and indeed it did, off the ground right off the bat. Devin Lloyd, no longer a Jacksonville Jaguar. He will join the Carolina Panthers. 3-year, $45 million deal with 25 fully guaranteed. So, I mean, overall, this particular deal is on or about expectation, I guess you would say, Travis?
I mean, technically speaking, lower than expectations if you were to talk to anybody coming out of the combine. So, I mean, again, Devin Lloyd's camp was looking for $20 million. You've heard that from all around the league. Everybody named Mama knew they were looking for that $18 to $20 million. He didn't get it. To the vitriol of the Duval devout, it sounds like it's because now everybody seems to believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars had the couch money to come up with $15 million, just not 20 or 18 million. So I think that's been a very curious takeaway from a lot of this conversation.
And you know, I the one thing I wanted to do first, and I neglected to do because I was so damn hyped by the new intro music, was to mention we have our first YouTube channel members.
Yeah, man.
Throw some props to. One of them here in the comments already, Preston PT phone home doing the thing. And then, of course, Brian Foster, thank you. And then Zenith was making noise. I noticed you had the green marker on your comments when we did our instant reaction to Travis Etienne. I didn't know what that meant yet. Travis told me after that show, hey, we have some members. And that green thingy means they're members of the. Oh, really? So, guys, your support continues to overwhelm me. Like I'm not. Don't listen. I know that I'm going to start saying things here, and Travis being Travis is going to try to be all sarcastic and rain on my parade and give me the exaggeration alert. I'm K-bossing now. This is real, guys. This is the most successful project I've ever been involved with as a podcaster thus far, and you guys are a big part of it. So just huge thanks up top. I wanted to share that bit. And yeah, I'm new intro song, members on my YouTube channel with my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes. I'm stoked. So yeah, big thanks for that. I don't know if you had anything you were about to add.
Nah, man, you said it all. I mean, again, thank you guys for supporting us and just keep it locked in. Again, I love to have these conversations with you guys, whether it's on the podcast or it's just in the chat or it's in the comments on YouTube or on the socials. So again, keep it locked in, just keep communicating, keep talking about this Jaguars football, and hopefully they continue winning so we continue having something good to talk about. But let's get into it, bro.
Yeah, and getting back on track, we were talking last about Devin Lloyd and whether or not his number met expectation is a whole other conversation. We'll get into that more here throughout the show. The other piece, and I mentioned we were going to have stuff that touched national news. Now, folks, Maxx Crosby being retracted, for lack of a better word, back to the Raiders from the Ravens is a national story. And because of that, Crosby getting pulled back led to Trey Hendrickson ending up a Baltimore Raven. But all you Duval divers out there like, but Kyle, what does that have to do with my Jacksonville Jaguars? And you're right to ask that question. The Duval dive is not just a clever nickname. Travis, walk me through a little of this.
Well, no, I mean, but again, per the reports, I mean, again, Dov Kleiman, you know, the social media aggregator, we'll call him. I generally have him blocked on socials, but he was the first person I saw talked about it. I'm just going to be honest about it. But yeah, Trey Hendrickson was going to sign with the Colts before this whole Maxx Crosby thing happened. So that obviously impacts the Jacksonville Jaguars in a significant way. I just thought that was crazy. I thought that was a crazy like outcome. So thank you, Baltimore Ravens physicians, for being so meticulous and so extra with your evaluations. We do appreciate you in Duval.
The irony is the Colts haven't been in Baltimore for decades. I had to throw that out there, man. I'll leave that at that.
More signing, yeah. I mean, again, we got people. More signings. You got Dewey Wingard, an official in of an era, per Jeremy Fowler, ESPN. You know, he signs a 1-year, $3 million base contract with the Arizona Cardinals with a $4 million max value. I was really hoping that Dewey would end up getting a bigger contract, not for any selfish reasons, but one, because I think he deserved another opportunity to see if he can potentially be a starting, safety in the NFL. But more importantly, for the Jacksonville Jaguars comp pick formula, I thought that might have given them a chance to get another 7th round pick out of this bad boy. That's just me. I'm selfish like that.
It always comes down to the comp pick game. I love you bring that up because I always forget it. And it's a subtle little thing. Comp pick, Social Alki in the building, letting us know, letting the people know, and reminding everybody. Now, folks, I see a lot of you here in the comments. Don't worry, we're going to get to you because all you guys are asking questions about stuff that we're about to comment on. I am kind of scrolling through to see, what all the
everyone
stuff
everyone wants to talk about Chris Rodriguez, the first Jacksonville Jaguars signing of this free agency period. I mean, it was literally one of the first comments in the thread. What Greg Cross says, the Raiders won yesterday, having their additions and Crosby worth more than the picks.
I don't know if they got the cap space for it. That's one interpretation, I suppose. But anyways,
So Robert says Rodriguez is a slower Tootin, but will run you over for 4 yards. I'm not even sure if I would have say that comparison, but if you don't know what we're talking about, Chris Rodriguez, the former Washington Commander, per multiple reports, signed for a 2-year deal worth up to $12 million with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, Chris Rodriguez played in 2021.
I covered him at the Citrus Bowl, if I remember correctly. So he played for Liam Cohen in 2021, and when Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator at Kentucky. With Wendell Robinson, who got a butt ton of money from the Giants as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, there you go. So that's crazy because he was on the market for an hour. Folks, I don't know if folks realize how quickly that happened. Like when they found out that the Commanders wouldn't be tendering him immediately. So obviously they have that connection with Liam Cohen. He also had Chris Rodriguez's best year in college happened under Liam Cohen. That was his best season, 225 carries, just under 1,400 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, and 12 total touchdowns. That was his best season. So I thought that was a great buy low situation, a great, a moderate contract. Because again, $12 million maximum probably is going to come back being something like an $8 million, maybe $10 million range, $6 million guaranteed, something along those lines. That's just my guess, just based on where it is. And I'm like, dude, I watched him last year. I talked to you about this before this podcast started. Mm-hmm. I have a thread with a lot of us that just watch, we love watching film, and we had this conversation, and only 2 people in the room really watched Chris Rodriguez last year, and I was one of them because he was on my fantasy team. So I want folks to know he only had 7 starts last year in his 13 games played. He had about 500 yards, 6 touchdowns, but he ended the season off real strong, right? He had 152 total scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns in those last 2 games, and a lot of people seem to be a little bit down on the signing, or maybe not as high as I thought they might be on the signing, because he wasn't one of the top guys. He wasn't KW9. He wasn't a Kenneth Walker. I get that, but he averaged 4.6 yards. 4.46 yards a carry last year, which was his career low, and that's oh wait, that was his career low, man. And we must be that's why we're getting it cheap. I'm like, nah, y'all don't understand. 4.46 yards as your career low when you are an in between the tackles rusher. That's not bad.
And the point you're bringing up is where I'm gonna land the plane for you, Duval Devout, that don't know better necessarily. That aforementioned Citrus Bowl, I believe he played the Hawkeyes of Iowa in a victory where they had to run the ball against the Iowa Hawkeyes. A tough team. This is a between the tackles guy. think I'm going to say this. This is what they wanted out of Tank Bigsby, and now they have him potentially in the building.
Actually, that's a very fair comparison. This is a cheap Tank Bigsby because, again, you were coming up to the end of Tank Bigsby's contract originally, and he was also someone who wasn't versatile in this offense. This is, Chris Rodriguez, who knows this offense, who's been in this offense, who had his best season already in this offense. We don't have a question of fit. But I thought it was interesting, again, looking at the advanced analytics. Shout out Gus Lowe, Big Cat Country, and what is it, Duval 22. Chris Rodriguez among the 2025 48 running backs. Yards after contact per attempt is 4 yards, which is second in the league. Yards over expectation per attempt, he was 14th in the league. Rushing success rate, he was 8th in the league. Rushing expected points added, he was 8th in the league. Basically, he was great in everything but rushing attempts, which he doesn't control. And I thought that was crazy because, again, I thought it was a nice signing where he secured the floor of the roster, kind of giving you a man gap downhill guy. But he doesn't stop you from drafting a guy if you just happen to fall in love with him in a draft. But I just showed you those advanced stats, and I wanted to show you to you again. Thank you for Gus Lowe, my manager over at Big Cat Country. But we talked about Travis Etienne last week, a week ago today, comparing those same stats I just gave you. And Travis Etienne was 32nd in the league in rushing yards over expectation.
Right.
Chris Rodriguez was top 10. Travis Etienne was 29th in yards after contact. Again, Chris Rodriguez was top 10. This is a different type of guy. Rodriguez is also 6th in the league in EPA per rush. Like we kept saying we wanted the Thunder to Bashaw Tutin's Lightning. This is more of that mold. The Washington Commanders just never gave Chris Rodriguez the rock. And again, I y'all know I'm a football junkie. Y'all know I love watching film on college guys. I love watching film on NFL guys. And I watched the heck out of that NFL pro. I challenge any Jacksonville Jaguars fan who is hearing my voice this offseason. We're going to enter that dead period not too long from now. Take 30 minutes sometime over the next few months. Pick any Washington Commanders game that Chris Rodriguez started, and just at random. And I want to know folks' thoughts. Send them to me on the socials. Send them to us in the comments here, whatever. Watch a whole game, but only on their offensive possessions. And tell me if there's not any moment in that game when you put your hand to your forehead and just be like, dude, what the heck are they doing when they would go away from Rodriguez when he seemed to be cooking? Like, it just felt like that they were just trying to tank, and that film and the advanced analytics supported. That's where I'm landing on it.
And I'm not going to say taking doesn't happen in the NFL. It's a lot less. But what I will add is there is an element of having to play from behind a lot with Jane Daniels and the injuries. I think even Scary Terry was hurt for an extended period of time.
But they had a lot of games where it was like Marcus Mariota, whoever it was, like starting, or some other quarterback starting. And I'm like, and this is a one possession game, and they would just get away from it. And I'm like, what are you doing? It was a lot of that, I promise you. And I wasn't the only one that came to that conclusion independently. I just thought it was crazy.
No. I
had this conversation for about an hour earlier today. So believe me when I tell you, I'm like, dude, this is crazy. We all thought the same thing, and these are NFL coaches just not doing it. I didn't get it.
I love that PJ Brown is happy about the fact that he's bringing up running the ball again here in the comments. And this is a good time for you to do it, my friend, with Rodriguez's acquisition. I'm glad you got in there. And yeah, listen, I think we're going to move on because some of these comments are going to be more relevant to future topics here. We'll get into those in a minute. But
that's fine. But let me wrap up Chris Rodriguez.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
In 2025, we got Bashaw Tutin as a starter, more likely than not. I just want to say that out loud. LaQuint Allen as your pass protector, your receiving threat, maybe. Chris Rodriguez as your short yardage grinder, your thunder to that Bashaw Tutin and Lightning. And you can maybe even surprise a few people with that opportunity. Like, I wanted to say something clearly and on the record. I look at the Chris Rodriguez signing similar to how everyone kind of looked at the Jacoby Myers signing when it first happened. And I'm not saying he's going to end up having the same impact as Jacoby Myers. I'm saying no one had expectations for that guy coming in, but everyone knew before the signing that the advanced data looked like that he's going to fit this offense, and that guy might really play well in this offense. And that's where I'm landing with Chris Rodriguez, exactly where I landed with Jacoby Myers. Hopefully, for all of Duval's sake, he ends up working out just like Jacoby did for this offense, and everybody will be happy.
Fair enough. But from there, we move on to Travis D-Hum's favorite topic of all time that isn't cornerback play. Comp picks. galore.
Mm.
Let me find Social Alky's comment that goes perfect with this because I think it's relevant. But comp
Okay.
picks galore since 1994. Hey, I know this one. We flashed this in
Yeah.
another show, but it's so very relevant here. I'm not hating. I'm appreciating
We've
how
been
it's
telling folks this for a while, and folks still are out there crashing out. I think it's crazy.
Alky,
But
what
no,
up, divers? In stones, I trust. There you go.
So we've shared this with you guys before in the past. Since 1994, the Rams have been fourth in the league with the amount of comp picks that they've gotten, and the Jaguars have been 26 in the league with the amount of comp picks we've gotten. And we told you James Gladstone is going to play this comp pick game. We've explained it to you very clearly what that meant. And I'm saying this because I'm happy to see not very many people that I see on these socials crashing out are Duval dive, watchers, are Duval divers. But I see a lot of people out there crashing out, and I think it's crazy right now. So if you're a new listener, please hear me out quickly. All right. So the league has been giving out comp picks since they changed the NFL draft, like back in after the 1993 season. So since the 94 season. So that 90, when they say since 1994, they're saying since they've given out comp picks, which started in 94, the Jaguars have been 26. The Rams have been a top 5 team. That means that they love to allow free agents to go and not let them finish their contracts just so they can get those mid-round picks later, right? The NFL gives out a whole round of comp picks every year. I actually learned that this year. I want to be clear. So in case anybody else didn't know that, I hope I'm just sharing game that maybe somebody else don't know. They have 7 rounds in the NFL draft. They actually have 8. And most people don't know that. They used to have 12 rounds in the NFL draft back in 1993. They give out 32 comp picks every year. So there is 8 rounds with those, basically if you count those 32 comp picks that's sprinkled in from rounds 3 to 7. I'm telling y'all all this to say the Jacksonville Jaguars, as it currently stands, have 3 projected comp picks right now as of, whatever today's date is, Wednesday, March 11th. This is per over the cap. They got a 4th round projected comp pick for Devin Lloyd. It's a low 4th round. So it depends on how Devin Lloyd plays this season. You got a mid 5th round, for Travis Etienne, a 6th rounder for Greg Newsome. And we never talked about the Greg Newsome situation where he had ended up signing a contract with, I believe it was the Giants, for a maximum of $10 million per season. I think it might have been an $8 million contract with the maximum value of $10 million. So like overall, the Jaguars could have a potential 3rd draft pick, a 3rd comp pick in 2027. That's not for this year. That's for next year. But I mentioned all of that because Robert says it. Comp pick game is what good teams do. You lose good players or you lose average to above average players, and you get mid-round to late-round draft picks back so to help that sting go away a little bit. But to anybody who has questions why I'm always saying I support these guys, even when I didn't even like them on the Jaguars, and that's happened to a few players in the past, this is why. Comp picks matter because if you, even from a selfish perspective, if a guy makes all pro or if he ends up being on the Pro Football Writers Association's all conference team the next season after he leaves Jacksonville, that helps his comp pick formula. Like that 4th round pick and it move up to a 3rd round pick, or that 5th round pick and move up to a 4th round pick. So those things matter. Again, I ain't trying to talk y'all head off about these comp pick things. I want to make sure people know where I'm saying like you should support Travis Etienne even if he's not wearing teal, as long as he's not playing against the Jaguars. Support Devin Lloyd, support Greg Newsome, even if it's just for selfish reasons, because you want the Jaguars to have higher potential picks next year. That makes sense.
This is that Greg Newsome piece you were mentioning, the signing of Greg Newsome. According to Nick Cordy on Twitter, the signing of Greg Newsome II takes, why not just call him Greg? Anyways, it takes away a 2027 compensatory pick from the Giants and adds one to the Jaguars. Precisely which round will depend, to your point, on the base APY that Newsome got. So yeah, that is aligned to your point. Outright there, 100%.
Yeah, so that's the gist of it. So I thought it was great that the Jaguars, from that Greg Newsome situation, end up getting an extra pick, because if I want to circle back just for a second, I think folks might have missed that, and everybody they really enjoy rewriting these narratives on what happened when we all have eyes, right? Yeah, if y'all don't remember, Tyson Campbell was getting bombed up on a week by week basis in 2025.
Yep.
To the point where he was approaching being unplayable in that Kansas City Chiefs game. When Tyquan, what was it? The Chiefs I forgot his last name.
Is it Tyquan Jones?
Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton. He just got re-signed by the Chiefs. Yeah. Ended up getting that long catch, and then they immediately traded him to the Cleveland Browns. And in 2025, Tyson Campbell was the 12th highest paid cornerback in the NFL based on average per year. James Gladstone essentially traded Tyson Campbell to the Browns for a 6th-round pick and a year of Greg Newsome. I say for a 6th-round pick because they got that 6th-round comp pick. They knew he was on the last year of his contract, and they played the comp pick game with Greg Newsome, who ends up getting signed. And now the Jaguars have a projected 6th-round comp pick in that. So they got a year of him. They cleared the books with Tyson Campbell, and they're going to potentially get a 6th-round draft pick out of this. That's pretty dope.
For those of us who were wondering why that Tyson Campbell trade was so high in both our top 10 when we analyzed the trades for the year that were made, all of these are a factor. And I don't think I gave enough credit at the time to the comp pick game. And, Preston says, channel member Preston says it here, playing comps is smart. Our cap is an example what void year and dead money means in the long run. 100% make the window last. 100%.
Man, you're talking about the dead cap. Like most teams, they have to cut a player when they're paid high and they're not performing well. Like most teams, they gotta cut that dude, or they gotta trade him away and get rid of a pick just to make another team take on that salary. The Jacksonville Jaguars ended up getting a 6th-round comp pick back for Greg Newsome, getting a year of play out of him while they needed cornerback help. And in addition to that, Tyson Campbell, even right now, today, wait, it's that wrong one. Tyson Campbell today has a $13 million dead cap if Cleveland wanted to cut him today. That's in addition to the $19 million dead cap that Tyson Campbell has on the books for the Jaguars right now. Like, I need folks to understand just how big that contract was, a noose around the Jacksonville Jaguars' neck, and Gladstone not only got out of it, but he might actually at least get a late-round pick out of it. I just want to make sure that comp pick game doesn't go past people, because I think it's worth talking about, because, hey, man, that's a positive outcome of something that was a really negative, bulky handcuff, we'll say.
And yeah, I don't think there's a better way to put it. You mentioned the bulky handcuff. I couldn't help but notice Gabe Davis's number there. And I'm not saying, man, listen, I love me some Gabe Davis.
We love Gabe, though.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, Goody's getting paid, but it's unfortunate that the Jags are still dealing with that on their.
The Jaguars don't have good luck with UCF players, man. And that sucks. Y'all see the UCF jersey in the background. That hurts my heart, bro. Whether it's Blake Bortles, whether it's Gabe, Mike Sims Walker got hurt, like that injuries took him out. Like, goodness, man, we don't got good luck in Duval with UCF players so far. Hopefully somebody changes that, but yeah. Either way, we get what is the main thing we're here to talk about today, sir? Like, I think,
well, hubba honey, money. Who do you trust?
That's it.
Where the trust is the big part of this. And of course, some of this conversation is had by my personal champion, Big Cat Country, involving who do you believe the Jaguars' trust problem after Lloyd's departure. And here's where I need you to catch me up a little bit, because I'll be honest, between my work with Locked On UCF and trying to keep up with them and sneaking by Cincinnati in basketball here, being actually relevant in the Big 12 tournament, my coverage of the Magic, all this other stuff. And oh, by the way, baby boy had karate last night. I didn't catch every single thing that's been going on in the social space like you have. What's the big conversation at this point?
So this is what I love. I love being a part of the Big Cat Country team, because then we get to talk to fans all day. I love being a part of this community with the Duval Dive, because you guys talk to us and we talk back on all these different socials. So I get to really understand in all these group chats and Discords and Reddits and everything else what people are arguing about. And across the fan base, everyone's having the same 3 arguments. Do Jaguar fans trust Anthony Campanile to rebuild this defense without Devin Lloyd? Does Campanile himself trust Devin Lloyd to repeat his all-pro performance? And is that why he's no longer playing in Jacksonville? And are fans already fully out on James Gladstone? It's about trust, man, to the point where we had to have that article on Big Cat Country, because the Jacksonville Jaguars fan base, the Duval Devout, you guys out there, are having some wild takes. And I'm going to be honest about it.
And out here,
I'm a 13-win team.
Yeah, exactly. Well, first of all, The point was made, and I'm going to give credit to another show that does an excellent job, and Locked On Jaguars, the squad show. We've had people from that show on this show, right? T. Wiggs, Marcus Ogden, and of course the great Mia O'Brien. We're all having the conversation just this week about how bad teams make swings and take swings for big money dudes in free agency because they just need them that damn bad. The Jags aren't here right now. And listen, I'm not mad at fans who want a big name because it's fun. I'm not even mad at that part, right? But there's so much there's varied takes here. We showed earlier with Social Alki in Duval We Trust that we have Steve Kolinick in the comments. It's not coaches. A lot of the Jags don't trust the owner, especially when he refuses to spend money on good big name players to stay here when the Jags even have the cap space. Khan lets everyone walk. First of all, I don't think Khan signs the players. We've shown beyond a reasonable doubt here that Littlefinger was led to run amok. I mean, Trent Baalke, for those who haven't figured it out yet. While Khan is over here just letting it happen. Okay. So if you're going to put it on somebody, it would have to be Stone's EVP, Tony Pacelli, first and foremost. I'll leave with that. And it's okay that you don't agree with what happened with Lloyd. I'm not saying you're a bad person for thinking so, but yeah, I don't think Shad Khan has that much to do with that here.
I gotta say this, bro, and I don't know of a better way to say it, so I'm just gonna get it out. I'm gonna keep my language good because I don't want to have the explicit E on this podcast this week. But this is where I stand on it. I'm not cursing at the people. I'm talking with the people.
Hey, you are.
You are not going to be able to free agency your way out of a draft problem. Let me say it again. You won't be able to sign your way out of a problem that resulted out of an inability to hit the right guys in free agency. It's a basic math problem. So like you signing the wrong guys in free agency and then structuring those contracts in negative ways for the health of your organization is what got the Jacksonville Jaguars in the spot that they're currently in. Thanks, Trent Baalke. We knew about that for years. We talked about it at Big Cat Country for years in articles. And now folks are running scared in these streets because they're scared of putting the future of the franchise on rookies and second-year players in development because we ain't seen development in Duval in forever. I think that's where a lot of this comes from. When I say trust, I'm not talking about trust from the fan base to the coaches, trust in the fan base to the GM to getting the right guys. I'm talking about that's where this trust is broken, but it's broken on previous people. Like it's
trauma. I think you're describing, right?
I guess it's some level of PTSD. It's whatever you want to call it. Like trust is earned, but I feel like the people on the field, they've earned this trust with 13 wins.
I gotta step in. No sooner do you use the PTSD than storm the desert in the comments. Jags fans got PTSD for pass management. People questioning management still instead of trusting it.
That's it, man. But the vast majority of the top players from this Jacksonville Jaguars 2025 class are probably going to have much larger roles in 26. And some of the guys are just going to be making the field for the first time just because of their injuries. And you got as much dead cap and as much inflated contracts for guys who may be average to maybe above average. The only way to get out through that is through it. You got to go through the draft, bro. Like that's what it is. So you got to get used to being a draft and develop team. They told you this clearly in those words in pressers. And folks ain't hearing it. Like media's not hearing it, fans aren't hearing it, and that's what I'm trying to say. They're only going to have key free agent additions in certain spots. Like most of those acquisitions going to take place in the trade when they know they have a glue guy that's coming in. That's sort of like the Jacoby Myers situation. That's where this is. But again, you cannot free agent your way out of a problem that resulted from bad free agency in the first place. That's Trent Baalkeism. That's Tennessee Titans. That's what they're doing right now. Bad free agents beget bad free agents.
Exactly right. Now, here's the free agent I will back the Duval devout on for those that want it to be 100% fair on both sides, because everything you said, of course, champion, is absolutely correct. And I know I've said on this show that it won't happen. Before you say it, no, I'm not bringing up Trent Williams, Travis settled out. But I am going to cite Jalen Carter. Okay. I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, it's a whole different thing because the Jags are that thin at that position right now. One could argue that defense is a defensive tackle away from being a top 5 NFL defense. That a guy that can play at a Jalen Carter level, then suddenly you're not demanding as much from Eric Armstead. So instead of disappearing after 8 games, perhaps he lasts more of the season, if not, God forbid, the entire season, right? Oh my gosh, right? You won't have to load manage him to the same extent, which, by the way, I was talking about Eric Armstead and load management going back to the Doug Peterson, Ryan Snyder, Ryan Nielsen era, for goodness sake, right? So all of that is a thing in that instance with that. I think that's different because the cascade goes everywhere else. We've talked about it on this show, Travis, that defensive tackle will then make more vibrant and more dangerous Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen by extension. Dennis Gardeck becomes even more dangerous. Believe that. Okay? So all of the above, and I'm not even done with. What about Foya Luakin, who doesn't have people running at him from the second level because Jalen Carter demands a double team basically every down? Okay?
Yeah, but he's got to be available.
That's how I talk.
Carter's got to be available, though, and that's the big part. Like I'm not 100% sure he's available, but if he is, then yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to say bring in the player and don't overvalue these first round picks, because I think that's the problem that a lot of people get into. If you have a late first rounder and most teams don't even have 25 to 30 people who are actual first round talents, you're trading a second round pick. People don't blink. Fans generally don't blink when you trade a second round pick, but they do. There's something about that one being in front versus the 2 that just makes people lose it. Even if it's the 32nd pick versus the 33rd, it's a different mindset for fill in the blank reason.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for it, frankly.
But I did want to get to this one comment, because before we wrap up the whole whether or not folks are out on Jimmy Stones versus being out on.
Let's give the divers credit. I went off on that tangent, and the comments are blowed up because y'all are in here big contributing, man. Thanks, guys.
No. Go ahead. No, share their comments if that's the case. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't know if you had one in particular you were targeting.
Well, no, I had the Trust Jimmy comment from the socials, because that was Jimmy. That was Josh Collier.
See, this is you buying me time, champion.
He says that the Rams were in the NFC title game and their secondary got blown up. They've been aggressive this offseason, making sure that hole is plugged. The Jags were in the wild card, let Josh Allen dice them up from clean pockets all game. I'm sitting here wondering when the Les Snead protege is going to start acting like Les Snead. And I thought that was an interesting comment, because the Rams are where the Rams are, and the Rams can do that. They can blow it up because they have the resources to fully put it into that secondary. Tell me when the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have a similar situation coming from that as the Rams, because the Rams are there where they are partially because of James Gladstone. Let's be clear. The Jaguars ain't there. The Jaguars still trying to clear cap with what, $40 million in dead cap? I mean, just between Gabe Davis and and Tyson Campbell and Darnell Savage. We're not in the same situation as those guys, and we are somehow very similar on the field as far as wins and as far as athleticism, as far as that's concerned. But obviously, we're not these aren't comparable. We're lucky that they are because of good coaching. I'll give them that, but this ain't the same.
I think you kind of answered the question for the guy, right? When will we see the protege look more like Les Snead? Once he clears out the sins of Trent Baalke, right? I think that's the answer to the question, right? Timmy Devil in the comments, our favorite frenemy, King Baalke, didn't care anything about them comp picks and got 9-win teams, younger in cheek.
In cheek.
I think he means tongue in cheek.
Shout out Big B, tongue in cheek. I don't know what that means. Yeah, but, I'm sorry, Timmy, you lost me on that one.
We were talking about UCF there briefly. Social Alki mentions Malachi Lawrence. Social Alki, I would encourage you in the near future to check out Locked On UCF. I could tell you already, I have baked up some stuff for an episode involving him and Nigel E. Kelly. Jags may or may not come up in that particular instance.
I've mocked him to the Jaguars on multiple occasions, and it's hard for me.
I've seen it on Twitter.
You don't mock. I mean, you don't draft the helmet. You draft the player, and it sucks because I know the Jaguars have had such bad luck. But if you're talking a mid-round guy, I think that's it, man. I like Malachi. Like, I do.
I like Malachi better than.
I hope he breaks the mold.
Yeah.
Liam Cohen has broken the mold in multiple things within his Jacksonville Jaguars fan base, multiple trends and historical, streaks and everything like that. Maybe Malachi Lawrence can do the same thing for UCF with the Jaguars. Hopefully that's it.
Let me do some rapid fire here. Tapa in the comments mentions they might see DB as more important than linebacker. I think they already do, Tapa. I don't know where you're at, Travis.
DT. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
And DT's a definite is a dire.
Tackle, I need to clarify that. That's fair.
Defensive tackle is a dire situation because of that pass rush not being able to have rush 4 getting home last year.
Reyes in the comments, it was wild how people were angry about letting players go the Jags couldn't afford.
Because it's not their money. It's Reyes. It's not their money. That's the thing. Folks are going crazy because it ain't their money. So they like, no. You got money. It's the Saints can do it. You can do it. And I'm like, yeah, but the Saints been sorry because they cash strapped. That's why they're sorry.
Saints Drew
Folks got to realize that it's the business.
Cedric Holmes in the comments. Yes, good coaching is better than great players sometimes. Accurate. I'll give that. We got to get a pass rush this top. I didn't even show that one. Social Alky. If I keep calling bulky Littlefinger, does that mean Stones is Aria? Goodness gracious, he's young enough. I'll say.
Wow. That makes Stones Aria.
And then does that make Baselli Sensa? Because he was already in the castle dealing with what was going on. I don't know, man. We'll work on
interesting. That's interesting. I don't know. That's an interesting way of getting there. But yeah, we there.
I'm not mad at it. It's a good question. Let's see. Greg Cross in the comments. Teams can really afford most players they want beyond their top defensive end or their top edge. We'll say top receiver and quarterback. There's something to that. There are some differences and exceptions out there, sure. But you
can afford play. But again, that's how you get in trouble when you start paying average to maybe even above average players top 5 and top 10 contracts. That's when you get in trouble. That's when I was talking about the Tennessee Titans. Like, it's not to say the players that they're adding are bad. It's to say you're giving top 10 money to guys to play positions that aren't premium positions. To just you're going to have to draft your way out of that problem. There's not enough free agents in the world. Like, you might have a 1-year bump, but you're going to start struggling in year 2, year 3, year 4. That's how this works consistently. And we can look across the NFL, across NFL history to share that information. Like, most teams don't stay good consistently by just being the top spenders in free agency. And we have a lot of data to back that up.
Correct. And listen, I can tell you personally, covering a 5th and 7th rounder when I was in the Super Bowl in Phoenix, what was that, 57, when they beat the Eagles. And they were getting guys that had turnovers as rookie 5th and 7th round picks in their secondary participating. Just take that for what it's worth. Tapa adds in that offensive tackles to Cross's point, that offensive tackles are also an expensive position. Yeah, that's what the textbook says is the second highest paid guy allegedly is left tackle.
Everybody want the big people. They want that's what thing that we haven't seen because we've only seen one signing in Jacksonville so far this free agency and as far as trades and or signings. And none of them have been the big guys. None of them have had the beef. And I'm just like, dude, big people cost big money. Unfortunately, whether that's the
inch, maybe
paid by square inch. Jesus, yes, that's probably accurate. Paid by the pound. That's it. So at the end of the day, the offensive linemen, the defensive linemen, all those guys, even the edge guys, they cost the most money. And the Jaguars have been in multiple, conversations. Talking about whether or not they're going to be able to make one of these trades, for whoever, or even sign guys like John Franklin Myers. It didn't happen because they also are limited in what they can't overpay for guys. They don't have the money. Not like that.
Well, and I think this goes to a point here. Ron Beaudry in the comments. I made a comment earlier on a different pod, and I said I think our backups are going to be good at linebacker and running back, which, by the way, is proof the GM is doing the job if you have that confidence. And Ron, I think you agree. I think you are an in Stones We Trust guy based on reading this. And someone texted back and said, bro, we need veterans. And listen, there's something to be said for desiring veterans on a roster. But with the linebackers, I know why you're hurting, Travis. I have you on this one. You go ahead and get your headache right. But if you're talking about linebackers and veterans, I'm not saying you are, Rob, but this person, if you're talking about linebackers and veterans, you have Foye Oluokun, the most underrated damn linebacker in the bleeding league, and it don't get more veteran than that. We're having father-time conversations about the guy. Now, if you're talking about running back, cool. but stat research, conventional wisdom after stat research and conventional wisdom tells us that the easiest position consistently to integrate into any NFL offense is the bleeding running back. So if there's a place you don't need vets, it's running back. I'm just saying, partner.
We are having the same conversation over and over every year. This is Groundhog's Day. This is the same conversation we had about the coaching staff just a year ago, not even a full year ago. I'm sorry. Well, no, we're in March now. So just over a year ago now is we're having the conversation where they had about the coaching staff saying, we need older people. We need somebody with a little bit of time in the game in case things go wrong. We need people who don't, if the locker room goes crazy, people who are seasoned and everything else. And they hired, Ron Miles, who was one of the first people out of the door following the season as a secondary coach. I mean, he had 20 years as a DB coach in the league and is no longer here. And they went with a younger guy right after that because these are guys who want young people in the locker room, whether that's as the players, whether that's on the coaching staff across the board. They want guys who are forward thinking and willing to kind of just be coachable and just fly around and break stuff, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like so young in this game that I don't even know that I'm not supposed to be here, if that makes sense. I need the cheap labor and I need the high price labor, and I don't need anything in between. I don't need a $15 million linebacker. I need a linebacker that's $3 million or a linebacker that's $20 million, and I don't need nothing in between. And if he's $20 million, he's gonna be elite, if that makes sense. And that's how a lot of the good teams do it. It's the elite guys and then a lot of cheap labor and nothing in between. So, actually, speaking of that, can we just talk about the rest of this free agent market?
But we'll get to it. I want to go ahead and get through the comments here. Of course, I had to shout Drew Willingham, Sartoba Media in the comments, letting himself be known. Welcome in, sir. Our first stop and outlet there, too, as a podcast on YouTube was with Sartoba. And for those who wonder who made the graphic for our outro, that too was Drew Willingham. So we got to give him his flowers on the topic in question there, man. So thanks for coming in, Drew. 100% good to hear from you. And so many you guys are awesome. Ron mentions that he said no to that responder, saying he trusts in the coaches, develop players. Reyes mentions
you paying coaches. That's what you need. I don't need veterans when I got coaches.
And then Reyes in the comments mentions that RB is a place where you don't spend. I don't think that's anything new. We all agree with that. Yep. I think PJ Brown makes an interesting point. The fact that Eric Armstead has not been cut makes him believe that they draft linebacker before defensive tackle, which is interesting. I don't know that I agree 100%, but I see where you're coming from. This is the same fan base that cheered for Coughlin's first departure. Pay them no mind. Send them Daryl 45. That's a fascinating point, actually.
That's rough.
Greg Cross mentions rookies are a 1-4 proposition. Here's the thing: in order to get over any missed signings, whether we're talking Walker Little or even, and I'll even keep one that might be deemed a missed signing by this front office, whether it be, Walker Little or De'Ami Brown at this point, you still need rookie salaries to set the floor to counteract those with the cap. So that's basically why they're there. I mean, that's the short version.
And rookies might be a 1-4 proposition, but you can also move off rookies real quickly, especially the late round ones. I mean, a lot of the teams churn and burn those guys anyway. They just want to know what the traits are and kind of keep moving. So exactly. 1-4 might be 1 in 12 in the same roster spot that just keeps churning throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. Gladstone, Storm comes in. Gladstone filling homes with floor raiders. That way they're not reaching on need in the draft. Yep, exactly. That way.
I think he meant floor raisers.
Okay. You're probably more accurate. Yeah. That way they get who they believe are the best players. Yeah, exactly. You got players, not plays, all that other crap, 100%.
So I thought, they're trying to, the free agents are normally the floor stabilizers, and then the guys in the draft are the kind of those guys who are the ceiling raisers, who they believe in have the best potential.
I think Robert's comment here is the core of the question being asked. Lloyd played 1 year with a defensive coach that made a 27th ranked defense look good. Now, let's be clear. 27th ranked had a lot to do with Ryan Nielsen making it a hockey team. Let's be fair.
That's fair.
You weren't out on Lloyd. You were skeptical. I was out on Devin Lloyd.
And you were out.
Oh yeah, dude. You remember how harsh I was on him in the offseason, I hope. Yeah, happy to be made a fool, but if nothing else, give the Jacksonville Jaguars credit for giving them A, to a team they won't play this coming season, and B, doing it with a guy that they sold high on if he does regress back to the mean, right?
Yeah, but I think folks are just bored. Folks, it's the combination of factors. It's trust. Yes, it's PTSD, but it's all that going on at the same time as folks being bored in off season, because folks forget Travis Etienne entered 2025 with rumors about the team not being interested in RJ Harvey. We have literal articles in The Athletic that says the Jaguars were going to draft him before the Broncos did. We knew they were interested in Ashton Genty. They end up drafting 2 running backs this season, and then folks still freak out when Travis Etienne ended up leaving after the season. Like, the same thing applied for Devin Lloyd. He began 2025 as a co-starter with Ventrell Miller in week 1 of the season, and that was after 3 years of inconsistent play. Yes, some of it had to do with Ryan Nielsen, but the point still matters. To then talk about being a top 4 paid interior linebacker. He is literally the 4th highest paid interior linebacker in the NFL right now at $15 million a year. And folks are like, the Jaguars could have figured this out with the money. Y'all act like it's your money. If you got $100 to spend at the grocery store this week and you have an option to spend $39 on some steak, or you could spend that same $39 for a month of chicken, nah, bro, you're going to be watching your pennies. And I'm saying that if you're a physically sound team, you're going to do the same thing.
Yeah. And instead of expensive sides, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save some money, right? Get some spices on the cheap. What is it? 79 cents for some dang paprika. And then I'm going to work to make that chicken enhanced in flavor.
Yeah. Okay. That's cooking, or for coaching, that's coaching, I guess we'll say.
Yeah. Let them cook as a whole thing. By the way, you aren't going to bring up food to the offensive lineman and expect me to not participate, brother. Come on. What are we doing here? John T in the comments, theory out there is that to win the Super Bowl, you need a quarterback on a rookie contract and spend money elsewhere. But it just as easily could be the reverse. Yeah, actually, John G, what I hear is the 2 main ways is to go all in on your quarterback. Like, let's say you have Patrick LaVon Mahomes II or something like that, or Josh Allen, and let him kind of lift everybody else up, which in the past couple seasons, we've seen how that's gone. Right. And then,
eventually it catches up to you if you're not drafting well, though. That's where that comes in.
And the ultimate example, I think, of one versus the other is the 49ers with Brock Purdy and Patrick LaVon Mahomes II and the Chiefs, right? A game that literally went to overtime and came down to 1 play the last time they did battle in the Super Bowl. So, you got something there, John G, is what I'm saying. Topper real quick in the comments says Camp can get the best out of any linebacker that fits the system. He's not worried about linebackers. So clearly you trust in Campanile over Devin Lloyd.
Yeah, but that's the question, because I think that I would argue that the Jaguars they did not see the value in paying an off-ball linebacker elite money when they thought that the scheme was going to put the guy in most of these guys, any guy, the rookie, a veteran, doesn't matter, in the right position. And again, you started the season with Ventrell Miller as a co-starter with this guy. Who's to say that with more snaps, someone like Ventrell Miller could not have had a very good season? Maybe not an all-pro, but let's say, I don't know, Pro Bowl, or just say a top of the league season. Is that worth not paying a guy $15 million or top 4 interior linebacker money? I think that's a reasonable question or a reasonable conversation. But to the fans, no, you don't. It feels very clear that fans may trust Liam Cohen. Fans may trust Anthony Campanile. And Anthony Campanile and staff did not trust Devin Lloyd to repeat this performance, or at least repeating this performance wasn't enough to pay him top 4 money.
Top 4 money and miss the opportunity to sell high.
Yeah, I mean, because they'll still get that comp pick back from that also. Exactly. That's the other piece of that equation. But at the end of the day, it very clearly to me feels that fans are not fully trusting James Gladstone because of Travis Hunter getting hurt. And that's
saying sell high. I should put that in better context. That's Devin Lloyd selling high too. Let me be clear. I don't know what state tax is in Carolina, but anyways,
trying to get the bag, and he did on a lot of levels.
There you go.
If Travis Hunter doesn't get hurt, and a few of those guys, I mean, again, Caleb Bransall gets hurt, then there's a different conversation. But I think folks are just a real knee-jerkish right now for a team that won 13 games. And I think they're just looking for that. They were looking for a big free agency to make them feel better about the lack of a draft class right now.
Yeah. Drew in the comments, Sartoba Media, the Saints overpaid too many players to dig their. Oh, yeah, exactly. This dude's coming in off the top rope as a Commanders fan weighing in on that. I wonder what he thinks about C-Rod as a Jacksonville Jaguar now. I like this comment too here, thinking about it. The releasing of Devin Lloyd leads me to believe they will put more trust in Yasir Abdullah. Let the camp listen. It's a conversation we're going to have in training camp. I can tell you that for a fact.
He was a run game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers and their linebacker coach. And then his first season in the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinator, Devin Lloyd, who everyone had questions entering the season and entering week 1, ends up becoming not only a Pro Bowl, but an all-pro linebacker. I think he's earned the right, Anthony Campanile, for folks to just trust him this season and see if he can do it again. And if he can, you're going to be calling this dude the linebacker whisperer. He's going to be a head coach next year, and we'll be having a conversation about the new Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinator. But in the meantime, I think folks just let's calm down and just let's see what they do at the running back position. Let's see what they do at the linebacker position and at the defensive backfield as far as just developing these guys in year 2.
And last one here before we jump to the free agency conversation. I know you're all anxious to have. Social Alki brings in up what I think is a good point here. His question: the way the roster looks now, do we go best available player, or if at 56 a receiver is the best available player, do you pull him? That's kind of fascinating.
Available. I mean, I think the way the roster looks now, they've done enough to make sure it is best available player, and that's the point in every offseason. Honestly, I'm shocked that folks haven't come to terms with that just so far. Like, that's not just last year; that's going to be this year, and most teams do this. That they have a hole, they fill that hole before the draft, so that they're not put into a situation where it's dire. That's normally what the teams who are bad end up having to do, or unless you're cash strapped, that's what you have to do. Like, I got a draft and I needed this guy, and it's got to be this guy. That's not where the Jaguars are right now. Like, I think the only truly dire situation with that they currently have, or the most dire situation that they currently have, maybe pass rushing 3 technique backup option, maybe rotational edge, maybe.
But are you going for that at 56? Like, that's the thing.
So it's not about. It's like he says, if the best available player is a wide receiver, am I going with the wide receiver? I don't know if a wide receiver 5 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, he would have to be much better than the next rated defensive tackle 3 technique defensive tackle, the next rated middle linebacker option
is what I'm hearing you say. But the board will dictate whether or not that receiver in question is the best available. So I think you're saying
when they say best available, this is different because most teams that I've been around and most scouts that I've had discussions with, they're not putting these boards as this guy is better than this guy's better than this guy better than this guy. Right. It's buckets. These guys are in this buckets. Yeah. These guys are in this bucket, and out of the guys in this bucket, all right, cool. If they're close, I'm going with the position that I need. I'm going by need in that bucket.
I think a phrase we adopted last year is that need is the tiebreaker. And to your point, if linebacker and D tackle are off the board and the best available is a very explosive playmaking wide receiver, I don't know who that would be off the top of my head.
Right, but then maybe I'm looking for a trade. Maybe I'm trading back because that's what happened.
Oh, we're going to say F-them picks is what you said. So your answer is actually no. If a wide receiver is the BAP at 56, F-them picks, I'm going to get more picks.
It depends on, like, if it's a receiver and he's just that much better than everybody else, and I don't have an option and I got to pick in that spot, then yeah, I'm going to receiver. But I just don't see that being the case in most of these situations. I just feel like it's buckets. I'm going to find the best guy who I have in those positions that I need. If they're not available, I'll trade back and find the next guy in the next bucket of guys.
Greg Koss and I are going to be friends. Best available players, safety, offensive tackle, or maybe nickel in the draft outside of the top 20 picks. I hope you're correct.
Nickel. Oh, I don't know. Not a nickel. No, not for this team at least.
That's fair because they got a lot of slot guys. They got
a lot of slot guys, but actually,
I was very focused on the offensive tackle piece. That's my bad.
So we're wrapping this. We're getting to that hour mark. Let's talk about what the free agents, the free agent market looks like right now. So PT says if only we kept Muma. We got Chad Muma at home, brother. Jack Kaiser. Like that's it. Like your mama say. So on the market, and again, this may not be fully up to date as we're talking because people are getting signed all day, B. But from earlier this afternoon, when you're looking at the defensive line market, it's a little bit slim pickings out there right now, brother. Like, you may go someone like a DJ Reader, 32, about to be 32 years old. You might be able to get him for like $5 million, $6 million, something like that per season. Maybe Daquan Jones from Buffalo. Like, I don't know, like Ashawn Robinson just signed recently, early this afternoon. I remember seeing him jump across the ticker. So there's not a lot going on out there, especially if you're talking like true 3 technique guys on this.
I do like Daquan, but to your point, he is older. Yeah.
All these guys are older, but we often talked about the fact that the old defensive tackles have the ability to age gracefully in the NFL, especially if you're just mainly a run stopping guy, because those guys have that old man strength. And it works out real well. It's the pass rush that generally goes first for a lot of those guys. So, like, if you're looking at someone like a Calais Campbell, you want to bring him back home. That makes some sense. But they need pass rush help. That's the biggest piece. And it's not really there unless it's a guy like DJ Reader, maybe, to give you a little bit of an uptick over what Hamilton is giving you. Any other favorites you have there?
Does Greg Gaines represent an upgrade at that spot? I'm not sure.
I honestly don't know enough about his game.
I'm asking that question thinking I have to research it a bit myself too, but we'd be foolish to not acknowledge the Cohen connection there at that point.
I mean, that's fair. But they lost on the Logan Hall conversation, if you believe that one. So that's another one that they missed out on with that connection. And you've also probably seen, like, the cornerback market right now is dried up, but fortunately the Jaguars didn't need it because they re-signed Monteric Brown. That's awesome. The linebacker market is kind of dried up also with that edge market, and the Jaguars have been kind of linked on both of those. The linebacker market, again, losing Devin Lloyd. So then, Leo Chenal is already off the market. Again, a lot of the big names that we originally kind of talked about. So, like, you got the Bobby Okereke. I'm trying to, like, who out there as someone who you think can be a solid middle linebacker versus just going with the draft or just going with Ventrell Miller, which you already had. Again, you have the promise there. You may just want to just give it to him and just add a rookie to that conversation for the cheap. Like, I don't know if there's anybody here that sticks out. You mentioned Miller. Kaiser, is still a factor. Maybe he'll develop. We're not talking at all about your guy McLeod. Still, Jalen. Thank you. I couldn't remember his first name. He's still a factor. There's still, like, I think it's funny how little we talk about the linebackers we're still unsure about that could still be plot twists in the upcoming offseason in training camp. Right. The Jaguars can have another 5, like, people who are, like, legitimate contributors or even, like, more than that just because of how many people they had hurt on their rookie class last season. So we just don't know what we're going to get from those guys, which is a great situation for Jacksonville because they're unlikely to be injured 2 years in a row, which means it's almost like you're getting your whole draft class and a half because you're getting what you didn't get in 2025 from that draft class. But then, so we got Jacksonville poking around the edge market. That's the last one that I really want to talk about. Despite having Josh Hines-Allen and Travon Walker both in-house.
With Gardeck re-signed.
I just figured we take a quick look at the best options available there before we wrap this bad boy up. Like, obviously the team seems interested in what's going on in the edge market for some reason with all these trade possibilities or all the rumored, Jacksonville's making calls about Trey Hendrickson or Maxx Crosby and all this.
They're not doing that anymore, are they?
My point is, if they're looking at edge, then these are the edges that just happen to be available.
Hey, there's your guy Fowler.
They're not happy. I mean, I said Dante Fowler. I said Dante Fowler. I said Clavonche's son. That was just me, and that wasn't even because it was a Jacksonville link. It was just 2 guys I thought you might get for a reasonable cost to be your third rotational edge, but maybe those guys wouldn't be willing to come to Jacksonville to be a third edge. Also, there's some give and take there.
I am curious about Ekuban with the Colts. I always thought he was pretty talented. I think his price tag is interesting.
Yeah.
I would consider that. I think Bose is just too old, in my opinion, to stay healthy through a season in Jax. In my opinion, both the Boses, and I say this as a Niner guy, I think I think the direction I would go is Ekubon personally, and let him, finish out, ironically, having success in the AFC South, staying in the division.
I mean, again, I'm to a point where I don't want to say go to the draft because that's a scary thing, and I think that's been the point of this conversation. Is a lot of this conversation just revolves around fear. Like, this dude tells us that they're going to be bold and all this other stuff, and folks roll their eyes and they're like, oh, whatever, and they're going to be bold, and then they do something stupid like something crazy like trade for one of the best wide receiver and cornerback talents in the draft, and y'all like, oh, I guess they were serious about that. Or they just try to trade for whether it's they call around the league for Trey Hendrickson, or they're calling around for Maxx Crosby, or whatever it may be, and it's like, nah, man, it feels very much like they're trying to be bold. Whether or not they succeed is another conversation, but feels like they're trying. So I'm going to believe them when they say, hey, we're trying to build this thing, and we're going to take a few chances. We're going to break things and see what works, because we just want to do whatever's best for this organization. I'm with that. It's just folks aren't there yet. And I'm part of folks. I want to be clear. I'm there. I'm saying I want them to bring in a rotational edge 3, because I don't want them to have to go into the NFL draft needing a rotational edge 3 for the second year in a row. And that's from a place of fear. I probably shouldn't feel it, but I'm being honest about it. Maybe they don't have that same fear.
Says Trev.
Maybe they don't have that same fear. Maybe they're like, no, we're going to get this.
And I think Walker being a bit injured as he was the past year was a factor. But with Gardeck being in the wings, them having some success with rotational guys this season, it is something to look up about. I like some
success, but it wasn't enough. Not even close.
Of course. I'm not trying to say they were great. Clearly.
I got you.
Preston mentions in the comments, and I like how he said it. This sounds simple, but I like exactly what he's expressing here. When it comes to best available, it depends on how best that best available is. I think that's what you're getting.
Man, Preston, no, that's no. Come on, I know you're not wrong, but come on.
The problem with haters is they're going to hate, Preston, just to let you know. Drew in the comments, the three of us will need to lock in another episode soon to find out. He's trying to get us in on the In or Out Sports Debate Show again, Travis. I don't know if we have a spare Monday and we can come out there, but we'll see what happens there. Let's see. Going through here. You guys are off the chain, man. I love it.
They are killing these comments, man.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, Timmy says it though. There are no good edge 3s in free agency. I mean, again, I would argue that someone like a Dante Fowler is a good edge 3, but that's just me. I thought he had a really good season in 2025. Folks maybe you don't know his game, maybe you didn't watch it. I don't know.
Social Alki in the comments, siding with you. I feel like we irresponsibly are forgetting about Ventrell Miller. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right. Folks viewed him and Devin Lloyd exactly the same at the start of 2025, and folks just forgot about it because
I even thought
Lloyd won.
Ventrell showed me more potential on the off season. Like, I was so down on Devin Lloyd. It's hilarious.
Yeah, man. But again, a 13-win team that with the defense that went from being one of the worst in the league, literally one of the worst in the league, to second in the league in turnovers, and a really good defense despite not having very much of a pass rush.
Two comments. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And 2 comments mentioning Strigo and Green getting their shot at edge 3. They both had their moments last year. Preston and Social Alki both. Yeah, this could be much like Montaric Brown broke out basically in this year's training camp until he got hurt in particular. But yeah, it's just as likely those cats can do the same if given the opportunity. I think that's 100% accurate.
No, I think they're going to absolutely be good, and I think they definitely look like belong. But that doesn't mean I'm sitting on my hands throughout free agency or throughout the draft and not trying to raise the ceiling on that team, because 2025 let us know they were a team that won 13 games. They were also a team that lost in the first round of the playoffs to a team that probably shouldn't have been on the field with them. We can be 100% and say that. Like,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know that I'd go quite that far.
What I said that was a lie.
Well, no, but listen, here's the thing. I think you're a little too harsh on the Bills, but here's where I will respond, because here's listen, I can argue both sides of it as well, because in saying that, I'm also arguing against myself, right? What did I say in that post-game live, Travis D. Holmes? That it was Liam Cohen who was most responsible by not taking the points. I can't say that to a team that isn't at least as good, if not better, on the roster?
I think the Jaguars were the better team. I think the Jaguars couldn't get out of their way, and also I think the Jaguars also had roster deficiencies that made it easy on the Bills that the Broncos didn't have. So from that perspective, I'm just like, nah, Jaguars should have beat that team and probably should have beat that team by 10 plus points.
Josh Allen played worse against the Broncos than he did against the Jags.
He played worse because they took the points, but you already said that point. Yeah, they played worse because Denver took the points early, and then Josh Allen started being Josh Allen. That's what happened.
But yeah, I think a good thing to close it. Cedric Holmes says it best. Trust Gladstone in the draft process, and I'm interested to hear what you think about this part. In my mind, I don't know if we could already say he's the best GM we've ever had, but there is a path to victory where that does happen, right, Travis?
The best GM we ever had. That's a podcast in and of itself, because I'm not 100% sure I can answer that one without more evidence. No, without more evidence. And by evidence, I do mean Gladstone's had one offseason in which he had a draft that half of those guys got injured. He's made a boatload of moves, 10 trades in his first year. 10 trades in his first year. I said it right. We had a whole podcast ranking them. So is he the best GM? Hasn't done enough. Don't got enough time under him. But
it's too soon.
He's good.
But yeah, and listen, I think you and I have both said it plenty on this podcast over the past year. This is the offseason that'll truly make that narrative possible.
His first full offseason with his process in play that he's actually implemented, his systems, his scouts, all of that. And we're going to find out truly what a James Gladstone draft class looks like for the first time. Because again, everything last season was based on information being given to him by Ethan Waugh, based on previous scouts that Trent Baalke and Ethan brought in, based on someone else's evaluation and the nuance of the roster. This is the first time when we can say he knows all of that. Now we should start to get a glimpse of who James Gladstone and that front office leadership group really is. It's going to be interesting. I don't have a true opinion on it, but I would say the grading starts now. And now I mean grading on the curve.
Fair enough. Just so long as we're done talking about the lunacy of people out there thinking he's shopping Brian Thomas Jr. But I digress. With that being said, Travis.
Never know. I'm out on that conversation. I don't even know what to think of this mess. It's chaotic.
Listen, I'm just gonna see you talk about. If I were smooth, I'd go to my own Twitter account and pull up my own tweet, look like a genius. But I'll just say it to you because I know you saw it on Twitter at the SOTG when I said, "Are they shopping BTJ?" No. Are they taking calls? Yes. Will it be a deal? Will it take a deal that everybody would think is preposterous? Also, yes. The money's too low on Brian Thomas.
Someone said something stupid. Someone said something stupid like, "Hey man, I think the Jaguars no, that's what it was. It was I think the Jaguars asking price is a second for Brian Thomas Jr." I said, bro, if the asking price was a second round pick for Brian Thomas Jr., then they would have gotten a second round pick last year at the trade deadline. Like that's the easy thing.
Call. I like that a lot.
That's an easy thing. They would have had it for this draft. Like, no, that's absolutely, that cannot be true. And if it is true, I am probably looking side-eye at these guys at that point. I'm gonna still give them the rope to hang themselves, but I ain't gonna lie to you. I am looking side-eye at them at that point. I'm keeping it 100.
I'm gonna give the rope to them. Like that, I kind of think that's perfect. Yeah. So we'll leave it at that. With that being said, champion, go ahead and tell the people where you could be found, my friend.
Well, I mean, you already know where to find me. If you listen to the sound of my voice on the pod right now, I see all of you guys with those eyes on us, man. Click that like button. That's the first thing, man. Click the like button, please. Feel free to comment on the thread. This thing's only growing because you guys continue to lock in, continue to engage, continue to talk to us, and we just do our best to talk back. So, hey, we are monetized on the YouTube side. If you're listening to us on the audio side, we continue growing because you guys keep rating and reviewing us there. So thank you for that. And we appreciate you. If you have something that you want to talk about, hit us up on the socials. Comment on that one of these, on our YouTube. We read all the comments. We comment back. Let us know what you want to talk about. We may even make it into a pod. This is the time of year for that, man. You want film breakdowns, what you want to talk about. Let us know. We'll figure it out. Hopefully it works out. And we got some mailbags coming later when we get to that dead zone, all of that. So yeah. Click like, bigcatcountry.com, read the articles, even if you don't know how to read. I'm sorry, I pray for you, but also click the button. We're gonna start that trend. Whether or not you read the article, I don't care. Click the button so I get credit for you reading that article. I appreciate y'all there.
If Travis gets enough clicks, for those of you that can't read, I will do an audio edition of every one of Travis's articles. Okay, that's what we'll do for you there, Divers.
Right, man, we got to tell folks, man. I don't care if you like my writing or not. Hey, man, click the link. Let's start there, and I'll support you. You support me. I love it. But hey, man, BigCatCountry.com, the Duval Dive on X, on TikTok, everywhere. Just let us know where you can be found, brother.
I'm wondering if our members should get special audio versions of the Big Cat Country articles that I narrate. Maybe
that's it. Social alchemy, man. Audiobooks are available. Let's go. Let's go. We'll figure this out for you.
Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my work covering UCF with Locked On UCF. I'll be recording on Friday night. Basically, I'm going to be making fun of all the Fire Johnny people. So look out for that. Johnny Dawkins showing him what it is over here in these streets in the Big 12 in basketball. Crazy stuff. So make sure you check out. Shouts to my guy, Mike Gittins there, who runs that show there. And of course, my work covering the Orlando Magic. I will be in the building when they face the Washington Wizards for the second time here in Orlando. So make sure you check that out. I doubt I'll see Anthony Davis nor their other big acquisition. Oh my gosh, I'm slipping the Hawk, the former Hawk. What's his name? Trae Young. There it is. I got it. Trae Young. I doubt either of them will be playing. Whatever. All these different sports. It's a hard thing to keep up with, Travis. But make sure you check out my work surrounding covering the Orlando Magic, who are on a tear. And last I saw, we're beating the Cavs and could make it another game in a row that they win with 8 seconds. They're currently up 5 points. There you go. Over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Take that, James Harden. So yeah. For my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes. This is Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.